Hi, Calaveras County. This is Morgan Gache with the Chamber of Commerce. And I am thrilled once again to have our very own Carrie Ellinwood from the SBA. I say very own because I feel quite privileged that this is our third encounter with her in the last 60 days or less. And so thank you so much, Carrie, for hopping on today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, look, in the changing climate that we have, everything with SBA is on the minds of business owners across the entire US. And so specifically, I'm wanting to highlight for our business owners here in Calaveras County, some of the updates that we have now. Granted, this changes very rapidly, and I'm sure, as you've already let me know, that your office is just inundated with constant requests and also just waiting in anticipation for updates and developments in both the EIDL loans and in the PPP. So I wanted to ask just kind of for your feedback on the differences between the two, and specifically, I think what's on the minds of a lot of business owners right now with the PPP just kind of coming out and surfacing. What are your thoughts on the PPP? What should we know as business owners? And what should we plan to do now, knowing that tomorrow is the official start date or launch date for the PPP?
Oh, that's a very good question, Morgan. And I'd like to frame it up for our small businesses in that the agency has not given the lenders our policy and procedures manual as of right now. And as soon as they do, I will get it and I will be sharing it with our lenders. So kind of in context, typically the agency is working with about 900 lenders. We have over 3,000 now wanting to participate in this program. And so we're trying to onboard them and put the manual and procedures together for them. As you mentioned, the treasury.gov website does have some information, but for the lenders to execute on this, they're going to need our guidance. And until we can give that to them, their hands are tied. So I want to frame our PPP conversation up with, please be patient with your lenders. They're doing their very best. They are just crazy trying to get everything together, and we're crazy trying to give them guidance. So I would ask for patience, and while you're waiting for those PPP loans, I want to let you know, as an update from our last sharing of information, the EIDL loan program now has something called an EIDL advance, and I'm encouraging all small businesses to go directly to sba.gov and apply for that EIDL advance of up to $10,000, and that is being offered to you through the Department of Treasury, and it will be automatically, whatever you're approved for, deposited into your account. So I'm strongly encouraging small businesses, if they're a corporation, a sole proprietor, independent contractor, if they file that Schedule C, they can access that EIDL advance loan in addition to the regular EIDL loan program. Those two programs are both direct from SBA, and the EIDL advance can be forgiven up to $10,000. So please go and apply for those. They've started a public-private partnership. Our administrator, when she realized our typical loan volume being a couple $100,000 a year, and we had over 60,000 hits on our website the first week, it was time to get someone who had a more robust platform, which she did. So we have professional loan people doing that platform using our criteria. So please, the window has been broadened in terms of credit, and I would encourage you to apply for that advance. It is not mutually exclusive from the PPP loan program, either the advance or the EIDL loan. The PPP can be used in conjunction with those. You just need to be very diligent about documenting exactly which expenses you're using the PPP for, which are primarily for payroll, health insurance payments, your rent payment, that type of thing, versus the EIDL loan, which can be used for purchasing inventory. It can be used for any ongoing business expenses. The PPP is restricted around primarily it's for your payroll expenses, your interest on mortgages and rent, your utilities. Within the payroll, it includes your wages, commissions, or tips, any benefits for vacation payments or pay for any retirement benefit. Those types of things are included. State and local taxes assessed on that compensation are included. And if they're a sole proprietor or the individual owner of the business who may have a salary over $100,000, they're capped at taking that annual salary and up to $100,000. So that's the cap per employee. So if you have some commission sales people that typically make, $150,000 a year, you're going to need to annualize that down at $100,000 for the PPP loan program.
So with the EIDL and the advanced EIDL loan, you're saying that those can be used in conjunction with the PPP. Now, I know the PPP is going to be obviously a separate application because that's directly to the lender, not to the SBA. With the advanced EIDL loan, is that a separate application than the regular EIDL loan?
Yes, Morgan, it is. It's a very brief application, though. It is much shorter than the EIDL application, but if you want, you need to access that and then separately access your EIDL loan request. I'm giving an example. Let's say you apply for the advanced EIDL and you get the full equivalent of $10,000. You qualify for that. Then you go in and you apply for an EIDL loan. What they will do is they will deduct that $10,000 or whatever amount you're approved for from the average regular EIDL that would be then extended to for-profit businesses at a rate of 3.75% over a 30-year term, with those payments being waived for 12 months. So they'll be deferred, not waived, deferred for 12 months. If you have an existing EIDL loan, I know people in your community had a fire a few years back and may have existing EIDL loans. Those payments are being deferred until December of 2020, the end of December. So if they have that right now, they don't have to do anything. SBA is automatically deferring those. If they receive a new EIDL loan, SBA will defer those payments up to a year after the time that EIDL loan is dispersed. So we are really, our administrator is being very thoughtful in trying to give as much relief to our small businesses as she can.
Yeah, that's incredible. Because I know when we talked before, that was a concern that some of the businesses that I've talked to here in Calaveras, we have because of the Butte fire. And so, they're still, going through the previous loan that they had. And so that's good to know. My next question for you stems from just so many responses from self-employed independent contractors. And I know that at least according to the Treasury's site, April 10 is going to be the start date where those people can qualify for turning in their applications for the PPP plan. Can you talk a little bit about that and talk about who is included in that? Because I know, self-employed and independent contractor, that's pretty generalized. I know we have, people that are here in the county that own, I'm trying to think of who I've talked to, self-employed cleaning, housekeeping business. And we have people that are doing music lessons, and we have, different people according to that. What is going to qualify them? What should they be concerned about in order to have that PPP on April 10?
Okay, so what they're, and again, this is what I know today. I don't have the official guidance on it, but I'll give you what I understand is they're going to want to have their last year's tax return. They're going to want to have their income and expense. They're probably filing a Schedule C so they could use that as a basis. And then what the bank will do on the PPP loan is they're going to review all that information and then make a determination of how much that would be for them for the 8-week period. The calculation, as I understand it, is 2 months of your payroll costs, or 2.5 times 1 month's payroll costs. So it allows you some room in there to use it for rents and utilities, but primarily for your payroll costs. So that would be your what you have paid yourself for those activities that you're doing, whether it's piano lessons or house cleaning or any of those things. The current information that I have is it's 2.5 times your average monthly payroll.
Okay. Now, some of these terms seem really interchangeable. I'm thinking self-employed, independent contractor, sole proprietor, and gig worker. So in the eyes of the SBA, are those interchangeable?
In terms of interchangeable, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but what I would like to clarify for people is that any one of those categories, independent contractor, self-employed, temporary, whatever you do, a temp service, you get 1099. Those people are all included in the SBA EIDL loan program. And so they will be able to access that EIDL advance loan. And that's where I would encourage people to go that direction first, because they're not mutually exclusive. They can do the EIDL loan as well as they can do the PPP loan when they have access to it. The EIDL loan is to be directly deposited for the small business owner, independent contractor, sole proprietor within 3 to 5 days. So I sound like a broken record, like I'm trying to sell something, but I want people to get those funds that they need right now. And right now, that's the quickest vehicle. They're not mutually exclusive. All you'll have to do is make sure that when you apply for your PPP loan with the lender, you clarify what expenses you've used your EIDL advance for, which can be anything, and they just can't be used for the same exact payroll at the same exact time. Does that make sense?
What's the parameter of time on that? Is there like, so for example, could you have a, I'm guessing it starts in March sometime, is that correct?
I believe the date on that was March, let's see. So for the PPP loan, you can use those for payroll costs, including benefits, anything incurred before February 15th for utilities, loan payments, mortgage obligations. So I believe it's going back to February 15th that they're going to say this is available for those expense calculations for the PPP. And then I'm trying to look through this here. That loan, the not unforgivable portion of that loan, that let's say they forgive you the 8 weeks, that loan is, you need to notify the lender within 60 days that you want that forgiveness of the time that you get the loan. And then you will also need to make sure that you keep track and document these things. There's been a change I found out today. Now the interest rate that they're, as of today, this minute, could change. The interest rate for the borrower on the PPP loan will be 1%. The SBA is working with the lenders in terms of their income from that loan program. It's different. So some borrowers may look at this and go, well, why would a bank want to do these loans for 1%? Well, part of the legislation was that the bank would be compensated additionally for that. So that's behind the scenes to the borrower. What the borrower wants to understand is, what would I be charged on the part that is not forgiven? So at this moment in time, it's 1%. And as I mentioned before, for a for-profit business, the EIDL loan is at 3.75%. That term is 30 years. These loan terms are 2 years. So the lot lower interest rate, a lot shorter repayment time. And that's as it stands today. This all could change. They can prepay either loan, though. If things turn around for them to the degree that they want to, they can prepay that.
Okay.
And there's no personal guarantee on the PPP loan for that, as well as for the EIDL advance. No personal guarantee required.
Okay. So, and that's huge. That's a big piece, because that was a question that I got from quite a few people. Let me clarify, because I know that there's it's sort of just a kind of change of verbiage here, but it seems a little confusing for probably the average person. Forgivable loans versus grants. And I just wanted to see if you could clarify a little bit, because you know, there's interest rates, but then we're seeing that it could be forgivable. So what is the meaning there? If, like, for example, the PPP is has a 1% interest rate, is that if the funds don't get used for the payroll, or less than 25% of the mortgage or rent and utilities?
So the forgivable portion, so the difference between the grant and what we're calling the forgivable loan, SBA does not do grants directly to individuals. Okay. So our obligation is they have to apply, they have to meet the basic credit standards in order to get any of these. So that's why it's called the forgivable loan versus a grant. You apply for it, you get it, you never have to repay it. If for some reason, somewhere down the road, it's determined that their application and use of the funds were not included, then that loan would then come back into effect and they would be responsible for it. So it would be, so it can come back to you, where a grant, once you're granted a grant, it doesn't come back to you like that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then that's where the percentages. So the 1% for the PPP, and then it's the 2.75 and 3.75, depending on if you're a nonprofit or for-profit with the EIDL loans, right? If for the advanced EIDL loan comes into play. Okay. Okay. What else should we know at this point? So this is Thursday afternoon, just after 2 o'clock. And I feel like we should have a running tape of what time it is, because who knows when that will change. I know that right now you are waiting for a lot from DC on directives for how to direct banks moving forward. But what else would you like business owners here in Calaveras County to know right now?
Well, from the perspective of the SBA, who I'm representing, I want small business owners to know that we are doing everything we can to get this out. And we, as employees, we feel your pain. We're doing our best, working weekends, whatever we have to do. So I just want them to understand that we do care.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's evident. And it's interesting, because in conversations that I'm having with people, there's no question about that. SBA in general sounds so big, and it's like, you know, another government entity, but specifically with our office, right? The Sacramento office, because that's our family, that's our home. We know it and we feel it. And so thank you so much for tirelessly working. And I know that when you see each application, it represents someone's life and someone's, livelihood, and you feel the impact of that. And we don't take that lightly. And I feel it too. I was just talking to one of our board supervisors today, and it was the same. It's just, it's heavy, and it's looming, but what an amazing opportunity for us to take advantage of. And so right now it's getting the word out and letting, as many businesses know as possible that there are funding sources and opportunities for them, and to reach out and apply.
Yes, yes. I was on a webinar today with an economist in the Sacramento region, and he said he felt that the United States, because of our proactive approach to having people stay at home and be safe, and our government work and our legislators work to get these funds out to small businesses, will be okay. It's going to be a few bumpy days, maybe more than a few bumpy days, but we will get through it. We're a great country. We have great people. And my experience with the small business community has been, each and every one I talk to is showing their independence, their resilience, their ability to find a way to make things work. And so that's very encouraging. And as you may feel as a small business, you're in it by yourself, but I've spoken with hundreds of small businesses over the past couple of weeks, and like them, you're resilient. You will make it through this, and we'll get there together.
Yeah. And then we'll have a really big party afterwards to celebrate where we can actually hug each other and drink wine together, not 6 feet apart, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so looking forward to that. And I'm so grateful that I was able to come meet with you all face to face and share that time. And we will have that again.
Yes, we will. We will. Well, thank you, Carrie. And we already dialogued prior to this recording, but we are going to be meeting together on Monday morning. There will be another posting, and it's going to have more details for you on both of these. I encourage you, don't wait until then. If you can help it, like, work on it now. Work on the applications and try and get that done. Because as Carrie was mentioning, we can use these in conjunction with each other. So know your resources and get on there and apply. That's probably the best thing at this point to do. So Carrie, thank you so much. I know you've been back-to-back phone calls and webinars, and for the fact that you're taking time to speak with me, I'm honored and super thrilled about it, because it helps our community so much. So thank you for that.
You are welcome, Morgan, and it's delightful to work with you because you have such a positive attitude and you're so proactive. I'm very happy to work with you anytime.
Oh, feelings mutual. We'll see you Monday.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.